Hello, YouTube. I'm Vince White. I'm an employment attorney. And today we're talking about New York City. New York City and the COVID. So I just received an email from the New York City Small Business Services organization, and they're unveiling what's called the New York City COVID Safe app. This is going to be an app that makes it makes people able to on their phone show that they have a vaccine. Right, you hold up your phone, people scan the app. It shows you proof of vaccine, so you can get into restaurants and you can get into like entertainment venues, sports stadiums, all this stuff. I'm not really sure why New York City created their own app. I'm not sure why New York City is calling it the first of its nation, the first in nation approach. New York State has the Excelsior Pass. That's been around a while. Nothing New York City is doing in terms of the app itself is really novel here. So typical New York City, typical de Blasio, kind of nonsensical, kind of weird, kind of like reinventing the wheel and spending money for no apparent reason while they're functionally bankrupt. But here's the thing. It's not just for the people who want to go to the restaurants, right? It's not just for the people who want to go to the stadiums. It's also for the employees, right? The employees have to now prove that they have been vaccinated if they're going to work, as per New York City law, New York City governmental action. And now many of you are going to say, but Vince, you said employers can require vaccines. You said private employers can require their employees to wear masks. You've been very clear with us. We sent you videos of a leading epidemiologist last week on CNN saying the cotton masks don't work. And you said you didn't care. Yeah, and here's why. Private employers, right? They spent the time building the business, or they inherited it, or whatever, right? It's their business. If you don't like their rules, and if their rules are not infringing upon some of your basic human rights, if they're not discriminating against you, then go somewhere else, right? If you don't like the rule that an employer makes you wear a mask, tough. You can tell me all day long. You can prove to me the mask doesn't work. I'm going to sit here and say, yeah, probably it's a piece of cotton. I highly doubt it's going to do very much to stop a virus. No one cares. It doesn't matter. Private employers can say wear a mask. They can make you wear a chicken mask, a little chicken face on it, and a chicken beak, and make you look like a fool. That's allowed. That's legal. They can just make that a requirement of their business, and they can, by the same token, require you to be vaccinated to work. But the government's a different thing, right? All of you people who are mad at me for supporting private employers, here, this might be your time to shine, because I'm going to finally agree with you. There's many reasons why the government hasn't required people to be vaccinated. There's legalistic reasons, constitutional reasons, political reasons, and populist reasons, right? They just don't think they have the ability to get that done. Would they like to? Yeah, pretty obviously. But they don't believe they can. So here you've got Bill de Blasio, whose political career is essentially in tatters, coming at this from a sneaky angle. Because if you work in a restaurant, there's a really good chance that you're living paycheck to paycheck. You need that dough, right? No pun intended. And so when New York City says, hey, you have to be vaccinated or you're going to start missing paychecks, you can't work anymore, what they're saying is, you can either starve to death or you can get this vaccine. We don't care what you choose. That's pretty terrifying. That's not really okay. And it's exactly the same as New York City saying, hey, people in New York City have to be vaccinated. You don't get a choice. It's the same, right? The choice between starvation and compliance is not really a choice. It's no different than saying everyone in New York City has to be vaccinated. It's the same. So it's now government coercive action, forcing the vaccine, and that's something that I'm not going to let stand. That's something I'm not comfortable with. And let me be clear. I believe in vaccines. I have many vaccines. I believe this vaccine is safe. I believe this vaccine is also, at least 2 of the 3 currently available vaccines seem to be somewhat effective, both against the original COVID, many of the variants, and even to some extent the Delta variant, right? I believe these things to be true. But in the same way that I don't care that maybe masks don't work and your employer's making you wear a mask, well, I also don't really care that the vaccine is effective. The government just can't be forcing you to get it. I'm not going to be okay with that. I'm not. So for all this time, people have been raging on me, hating on me, saying, you don't care about our rights, all these things, right? Okay, yeah. I mean, it's a private employer. If you don't like it, go start your own business or go work somewhere else. But when it's New York City, and realistically you can't really get away if you're living paycheck to paycheck, at that point, you're out of options. It's comply or die. And that's not okay, right? So for those impacted, specifically once they're impacted, right? If you are a person who works in a restaurant or a stadium or an entertainment complex, and New York City has required you to show proof of vaccination in order to keep your job, and September 13th rolls around when this is going to go into effect, and you then lose your job because you have not been vaccinated, then and only then are you allowed to give me a call, and we'll talk about my firm representing you against New York City and their requirement of a vaccine passport. I'm sure so many of you are going to have comments. I'm sure so many of you are going to tell me, it's about time you came around, or you idiot, we hate you because you supported masks and vaccines before for private employers. Or other people are going to say, you're a bad guy because you should be supporting New York City and forcing people to get vaccinated. You can say all those things. You can tell me I'm stupid. You can tell me I'm bad. You can ask me questions about my reasoning. Happy to have a conversation in the comments down below. Don't call me now. Don't call me saying, I'm going to lose my job. No. We're not doing it now. If you lose your job as a result of New York City's requirement that you be vaccinated, then and only then, on September 13th, when you lose your job, may you call me and talk to me about my firm representing you in this case. Okay? Stay safe out there, everybody.